talk about the last thing. It's called abundance culture or abundance mindset when it comes to an individual, which is a huge determinant of happiness, okay? I characterize the mindset that people have as coming in two main flavors. I call it as abundance mindset and scarcity mindset. A person with a scarcity mindset believes deep down that life is a zero-sum game. For me to win, somebody else has to lose, right? Because they operate with that assumption, they tend to display a few characteristics. They tend to be more self-centered, they tend to be more vigilant, untrusting of other people, a kind of hoarding mentality, very vigilant, and so on and so forth. The person with an abundance mindset, by contrast, feels that, you know what, everybody can win, right? My success doesn't have to come at a cost to your success. In fact, if you're in the same organization, then my success will actually boost your chances of success, okay? Everybody's boats gets lifted up by the tide, kind of an attitude, right? So an abundance-minded person is like somebody who's going through life as if it were a rock concert, okay? Have you been to Austin City Limits, anybody? Okay, if you've been to it, then it's like being at Austin City Limits, right? If you're there and you're watching a band play and you look at the other person and they're going like, yeah, you know, you won't go like, how come this person's happy? How come I'm not happy, right? You'd go, yeah, that's awesome, right? I mean, so you basically, there's a little bit of this emotional contagion that goes on, that positivity flows from other people to you rather than making you feel threatened, okay, by other people's successes. So no prizes for guessing which of these two mindsets is better for your happiness. Obviously, it's the abundance mindset. But what's really surprising to a lot of people is that the abundance mindset is also better for you for your success, your chances of conventional success. You're not only likely to be happier, you're likely to earn more money, make more progress in your career, right? And achieve more status and so on and so forth. Why is that? Okay, so if you want to explore this topic, I'd recommend this book called Give and Take by Adam Grant, who talks about three categories of people: givers, matchers, and takers. Givers are abundance-minded people, takers are scarcity-minded people, matchers are most of us most of the time who are a mix of both, okay? And what he finds is that givers rise up to the top. There's a disproportional representation of givers at the very top of organizations. And we think that, you know, in order to rise to the very top, you have to be a bit of an asshole, right? You have to be willing to kind of tread on other people's toes and, you know, be unethical and cut corners and be self-centered, be a little bit Machiavellian even, you know, mean. But it turns out that's not true. Okay, that might have been true in the past, maybe in military setups and so on. But in the kind of world we live in, we inhabit, in the kind of jobs that we hold, it turns out that you're much better off being an abundance-minded giver than to be a scarcity-minded taker, okay? I can't walk you through all the logic of why that's the case, but just to give you a short kind of synopsis of the reasons why, it's because people remember what you did, okay, and how you made them feel. And so you build for yourself pools of goodwill if you're consistently operating from abundance than if you're operating from scarcity, and people remember it. And so when it comes turn for you to be promoted, etc., they will come and support you, okay? So it's because of that network that you create for yourself in a highly interconnected world that abundance-minded people have a higher chance of success, okay? Two things that I'm going to end with. Actually, I'll end with one thing, and then I'll ask Asen to come over. And hopefully the second thing that I want to talk about will come up in the Q&A. Okay, the one thing that I'll end with is that I often get asked this question: which of these 5 determinants that you've talked about, right, basic needs and MBA and then abundance mindset, is the most important, okay? And I say it's probably the abundance mindset. I'll tell you why, okay? Because you could have everything that you ever needed in life, right? Basic needs are more than fulfilled, huge amounts of progression towards mastery, you're an acknowledged leader of your domain or your field, you have lots of fame, you have lots of belonging, you have autonomy, everything going on. But if you have a scarcity narrative in your head, you're not going to be happy. There was a study that came out in 2014. It was summarized in the Atlantic magazine, and you can Google it. It's called Secret Fears of the Super Rich. Secret Fears of the Super Rich. In order to be a participant in that study, you needed to have $25 million invested in various financial instruments, right? Hedge funds and so on and so forth. This is like not counting your mansion and your yacht and your car and your house and everything, okay? $25 million solid money invested in things, and many of them had more, right? This is the minimum qualification to enter as a participant in the study. And they asked them, okay, what are your biggest fears? We all look at you and think, you must be supremely, you can do whatever you want, right? You must be ecstatic. Every day must be like, yay, you know? So they said, no, to the contrary, right? Okay, and their two biggest fears, one of them was justifiable, I think, is that they were worried about what would happen to the money when the children took over the money. Okay, they thought that the children were spoiled brats. Okay, which they probably were. Okay, but the second fear was really kind of mind-blowing, is that they thought they did not have enough money. They felt insecure about the amount of money that they had. Right? And it's easy for us to kind of, point fingers at them and say, they're hugely selfish, narcissistic, etc. But really, I mean, they were people like us before they got, had the money. And so something about money makes you, it corrupts you, okay? So you got to be watchful for it, and that's a huge topic. And the opposite of that example is also true. Okay, these are people whose life circumstances are characterized by huge amounts of abundance, and they have a scarcity narrative in their head, right? There's the other extreme, which is nothing. They have nothing, and yet have an abundance narrative in their head. Okay, there's a movie called documentary called Happy. I'd highly recommend it. I think it's available on Netflix. You can watch it. It begins with scenes from Calcutta, where they're interviewing these slum dwellers who are rickshaw pullers, right? They're not even like rickshaw drivers, right, with a cycle. They're actually literally pulling people, running around the streets of Calcutta. They have blisters on their feet, wearing tattered clothes, blood, etc., sometimes on their feet. Very, very poor. And they still seem to be quite happy, if not happy, at least content. So the researchers are flummoxed, and they ask them, how can you afford to be happy? We look at you and we think you must be miserable, but you seem to be okay. And they say it's because God is bountiful. Whenever we need anything, we just go to our neighbors, we ask them for some salt or sugar or whatever it is that we're missing, and if they have it, they give it to us. And when they don't have it, it's still okay. So what if you go hungry for a meal? We know that we're going to get another meal a little bit later down the road. Okay, so they have a narrative of abundance in their head, even though their life circumstances are characterized by scarcity. So no prizes for guessing which of these two groups needs antidepressants, okay, sleeping pills merely to fall asleep, and so on. So even if you have everything, if you don't have an abundance mindset, you're probably not going to be very happy. Okay, so that's why I think that the abundance mindset is more important than the other things. Okay, thank you.